today we are asking a very important question. Is it worth pulling our beloved Topaz and Numby? They are a unit that came out at an unfortunate time. If you're wondering why I didn't do a is it worth pulling Jingaloo video, well, the answer is obvious. Yes, of course, it's worth pulling Jingaloo. That's not even worth a discussion. It's worth pulling her. And Topaz unfortunately ran alongside Jingaloo on the second half, which means a lot of people probably skipped her because Jingaloo is quite an amazing unit. So it's worth discussing. Now, is she worth picking up if you do not already have her, considering she is running alongside the Harmony unit Robin, who also buffs follow-up attacks. Now let's quickly go over Topaz's kit so we're all a bit more familiar about what she does. Now, first things first that you need to know about Topaz's kit is all of her attacks, her basic attack and her skill are all considered follow-up attacks, both of them. Yes, so her trace here makes it so her basic attack counts as a follow-up attack. She does increased fire damage to fire weak units, and Numby regenerates energy. Her ult means that Numby does extra damage, and one of her big benefits is she basically puts a mark on a unit, and that unit takes more damage from follow-up attacks. It's like 46% here, so it's like what go up to 50? Yeah, it goes up to 50 at level 10. She is pretty much a follow-up buffer. She gets crit rate in her little traces here. She's a single target unit because she's a hunt unit, and she's fairly easy to build. You can just put the Hurt to Light Cone on her, or you can any of these light cones really work. Sword plays really good on her. You can use only Silence Remains if there's not many enemies. Really, you just if you don't want to put boosting on the C on her, you just put swordplay on her because her and Numpty attack the same target over and over again, and it's really easy to get these stacks. Like, Topaz is a really simple, really easy character to build. Like, relics wise, you can do her 4-piece Musketeers. You can do her 4-piece Ashblading Grand Duke. I'm kind of switching over to Ash Duke on her. I haven't finished the conversion yet. And you stick her on Falsetto, like every single person who does follow-up attacks. Quite simple. She's a really easy unit to build, and she is great with the likes of Doctor Ratio and pretty much any follow-up unit. She's just a really solid buffer. And if she wasn't running alongside Robin, she would be a very easy pickup to get, especially if you've also got Aventurine. Because this team here that I'm sporting right now is the premium follow-up team. This team is amazing to play. They are incredibly synergetic, they kill things incredibly quickly, and they're really fun. Like, there is so much fun to be had in a team that does constant follow-up attacks, like just bam. I could probably quickly show it. Let's go quickly show it. So one of the reasons I got Topaz is Numby here will sniff out chests, and I hate finding chests. It's the reason I chose her over Jingaloo. I'm a very simple person. The pig that finds the chests, that's what sold her for me. It's nothing else. I just wanted the chest finder. Anyway, to demonstrate, not that this enemy will last particularly long against this team. One of the good things about Topaz is she's incredibly skill point positive. You don't have to ever use a skill point on her if you don't want to. It's completely unnecessary. Now what we do the pig, because it has the most health and it might last more than a round. Maybe. Nope. But see here, we have the proof of debt on this unit, which means, and it's when another unit who does a follow-up attack hits a unit with the proof of debt on it. So that can be Topaz, or it could be Aventurine, or it could be Ratio in this team. They push Numby to go forward in the turn rotation. So Numby's speed is determined on how many follow-up attacks occur. The proof of debt will not be... there it is. Simple, we need to find a harder enemy. Let's try this guy. Her skill in this regard gives her some more energy back, and it also means you get more money when you kill people. It's quite handy. Quite handy, and in Simulated Universe it means people have a chance of dropping curios as well as extra credits in Simulated Universe. Quite handy, quite handy. So that's pushed Numby forward, as you might have saw, up the rotation. There he goes. Who has proof of debt? This one. This one has proof of debt. And we go. There you see, Numpty went up the table because of Dr. Ratio, and that one died. It's a pretty... hello. I don't know who this person is or why they're here. Let's just stand here. So as you can see, it's a pretty good team. It's pretty solid. It keeps Numby going. She gets lots of turns, and it's very smooth, very strong. Especially if you have Rune May, because Rune May is ridiculous and broken. And with a combination of Dr. Ratio, Topaz, Rune May, and Aventurine, you have enough debuffs even at E0, S0. No light code, signature light code on Topaz's behalf to get all the debuffs that Dr. Ratio needs to constantly spam those follow-up attacks. This is an amazing team. But this team is a premium team. That is 4 or 5 stars, which is kind of ridiculous, really. So let's ask: Is Topaz worth pulling when you've also got Robin on the banner? Now, Robin is a really good support in that her ultimate brings everybody up to have another go. She gives lots of damage increase, and she herself does a lot of sub DPS damage. And I think she gives 20% increased crit damage or something. Robin is on follow-up attacks. So Robin is a really solid support across the board, and I think apparently numbers-wise on this team, on this specific team, Robin is better than Rune May. Now, the issue is on this team, if you had already Topaz and Numby, Robin doesn't provide a debuff. So if you are running this team with Robin, you would need to have your Topaz at E1, or you would need Topaz's signature light cone or Adventurine's signature light cone to get enough debuffs for Dr. Ratio. With this specific lineup, everyone on this team provides a debuff. Dr. Ratio provides his own debuff. People keep forgetting that he has a debuff in his kit. Rune May's ultimate counts as a debuff. Topaz's proof of debt counts as a debuff, and Aventurine's ultimate provides a debuff. That is 4 debuffs. Now with the release of Robin, there is an argument to be made that unless you are pulling Topaz and her signature light cone and maybe E1, there's no reason really to pull her as a unit. You're better off probably getting an E0 Robin. Robin still doesn't have a debuff, so if we removed Topaz from this team, you'll have to replace her with Pella to provide enough debuffs, which is fine. Pella's a really good unit, and she provides a lot of debuff, and she provides Defense Shred. Perfectly fine. It's just Topaz does do reasonable damage. She doesn't do extreme damage. You can make a damage build Topaz, but she's kind of more of a sub DPS who provides more damage for her team to do. And for example, as you can see here, this is my Pure Fiction team. Node 1, Herta, Himiko, Topaz, and Aventurine. I did this team with Rune Mei instead of Topaz to begin, but the Topaz team cleared bigger and better and more consistently than when I had Rune Mei in her slot. That increased follow-up damage is nothing to be sniffed at, especially if every single person on your team is doing follow-up damage, which pretty much nearly everyone in this team is. Like, that increased damage is a lot, and if you can have a Harmony unit in the third slot that buffs that even more, that makes it even more solid. Quite a lot. Now, I think, like, if we replace Topaz in this specific team I have here with Robin, it's probable that they would perform even better because of the amount of crit damage he provides and all the other buffs, where like Topaz is only providing like 48% increased follow-up damage, which, you know, I know everyone here is doing follow-up damage, but Robin provides more than that, which kind of pushes Topaz out. It's not really power creep, because ideally in this specific team you'd want to replace Rune Mei with Robin. Like, they work well together, but it has sort of made it so Topaz is no longer like a great unit to have with your Dr. Ratio and Aventurine. She's kind of more of a luxury pull unit, and if you're going to get that luxury, you might as well pull her Light Cone, and you might as well consider getting her E1. I'm not planning to pull her Light Cone on her rerun. I don't have the wishes for it. And I'm also not planning to get her E1, which provides her with another debuff. It is what is generally recommended for her to get her E1, and her signature Light Cone. So she provides all of the debuffs that Dr. Ratio needs to get off. And it's kind of weird, honestly, that recommendation is mostly to benefit Dr. Ratio. Like, Himiko and Herta and Jingyuan don't need these buffs to make them good units. They will perform fine with an E0 Topaz. But if you want to make your Dr. Ratio the best he can be and not worry about all the debuffs that you might need, especially if you're running a Robin on this team instead of a Rune Mei, then you need the Light Cone and you need the E1. If you're not heavily invested in a Dr. Ratio, then that doesn't really matter to you. You could just pick up an E0 Topaz and run her just fine with your other follow-up units, and if you have space for her on a team, then you can slot her in alongside Robin. Like with Himiko, Topaz, and Robin, it would be really, really good, because Topaz actually provides a lot of break, especially if you build her with a bit of break on her to break bosses easier. She is a hunt unit, so she's really, really good at that, and for that reason she's quite good with Himiko, especially when it comes to breaking the bigger bosses. Like, you'll have like the Pure Fiction with all the little mobs, and Himiko will take out the mobs quite well, but she tends to struggle on the bigger enemies, and Topaz can just break those really, really quite quickly. And for that reason, like, if it was a fire focused floor, you could quite comfortably run Himiko, Topaz, and if you got Robin as well, and that would be a really quite strong team, I think. So there are reasons to pull Topaz. There are reasons. She still is good, and I'm sure there's going to be discussion whether or not she's still worth it. Like, she still provides quite a sizable damage increase to your follow-up units. She does do really good break on enemies, and if you have a lot of follow-ups in your team, it does get ridiculous. I could probably demonstrate in Pure Fiction actually, one sec. So this is a much more free-to-play team. Like, everybody gets Herta. Himiko you can get off standard, or you can pick her specifically to play with. Eventually it's just a decent pool, and hopefully you picked him up when he was on banner. Up to you, really. He's a really, really great unit, especially with this team. It is glorious. Let's give him a go. Who's starting with proof of debt? Not you. Proof of debt is a bit random. He has it, which is a shame. Anyway, we're going to leave this on auto. This should be able to clear fine without me helping out. As you can see, Numby goes top of the round. He goes. Everyone explodes from the Memory of Chaos, from the Pulp Fiction buff. He sends it out onto the boss. Numby goes again. Himiko goes. Breaks an enemy. There goes Herta. Numby has gone up. It's only so far he can go up the initiative, unfortunately. He's a lot better than Lightning Lord is in that regard, because you can just speed him up with more follow-up attacks. There we go again. As you see, Numby went up a turn and he pretty much almost smashed that gorilla. There we go, dead. On to the next round. Do admire my Herta damage. Pretty solid. I've stolen a few relics here and there. Like, my ice relics are pretty great, honestly. We're smashing through this. Do we get another follow-up? Nope. It's fine. There we go. And did Numby not go up that time? I don't think there's a limit on how many times Numby can go up. I don't believe so. Up we go. Yeah, it's a really good team. You get so many follow-ups, as I'm sure you can see. Just constant follow-ups. I love the follow-up gameplay, honestly. The extra attacks are very satisfying to watch. Get cycled through. Now, Numby's personal damage isn't incredible, especially if you don't crit. But at the end of the day, he's kind of like a sub DPS, kind of sub DPS unit. He's providing additional constant damage, and the more follow-ups you have, the more damage he will do. And if you're running a Topaz in a team like this where everybody's doing follow-ups, you don't need her on speed boots or anything. I have her on attack boots. She goes quite fast. I think she goes twice a turn with the speed she's on currently, which is more than enough, I think, personally. Nice. Now, if you're playing DPS Topaz, which you can do, it's perfectly fine to run a DPS Topaz. Then you would want her on speed boots, because you're unlikely to have many units in your team that does follow-ups. At the moment, we've only really got Aventurine as a follow-up support. Topaz is, at the end of the day, a follow-up support. There we go, at the end. How many points we get? I did better than the last time I ran this. 34,000. I got 31 last time. That's pretty awesome. I don't need to do that. We have done it. Best new score. Best new score. As you can see, she synergizes so well with additional follow-up units. She's really comfy. She does a lot of single target damage. And I don't think she's fallen off, honestly. It's just, if you have a choice to pick between Robin and Topaz, Robin will fit in more teams and be more universal across the board with all of your units, where Topaz only really shines in follow-up teams. You can run her as a solo DPS, but it's not great, honestly. He's no Dr. Ratio. Ratio can handle multiple targets really, really well, because he does so much single target damage that he can take out like a boss in like 2 attacks with the amount of damage he does. Topaz can't really do that. I guess if you make her fast enough, like we're talking about like 160 speed, you probably want Sparkle in there and Bronya to keep her going extra fast, and then eventually to provide even more follow-ups for Numby. But if you don't have that, I can't see her doing extreme amount of damage on her own, and it's not really worth it because she only does single target damage. And that's the thing, she's a hunt character, she only does single target damage, but she will increase your follow-up team's damage significantly. I couldn't have cleared Pure Fiction without her, honestly. I was struggling for a while before I decided to try Topaz, and I did doubt Topaz would provide enough because she is single target and it is Pure Fiction, but the difference she makes on those big tough enemies, on breaking them and doing that solid single target damage that kills them quickly, is not to be underrated, honestly. But it's hard to recommend her when she's running alongside Robin. Now, if you're someone who likes spending money on this game, yeah, she's probably worth a pickup. She's kind of future-proof, but with the increase of follow-up units, it's going to become hard to fit them all in your team, and it's going to come down to like weaknesses eventually. As we get an increase of follow-up units, but I think like Topaz will always have a universal use to her, but she's kind of more premium now. It's just a little bit more premium, especially if you want to run her alongside Dr. Ratio, because if you do get Robin and Robin goes in this slot, you do not have enough debuffs anymore. You need Topaz's light cone, and there is argument to be made that in this team it would be better to replace Topaz with Robin and run Rune May as well, just so you sort of have enough debuffs, but even then it's not really enough debuffs. Dr. Ratio be greedy. It would really be Dr. Ratio, Robin, Pella, and Aventurine, I guess. Which makes it a slightly less premium team if you think about it. But yeah, if you're not... But at the end of the day, Topaz works with many units because there's a lot of follow-up units that are available to us now. She's a good damage increase to Jingyuan. Like you saw, Herta and Himiko, she's a really great damage increase to their personal damage. Aventurine, I guess, as well. Not that Aventurine does a lot of damage, he just does enough, really. Yeah, I don't think she's fallen off, just to be clear. She has not fallen off, and I think she is a worthwhile unit to get. I would not recommend getting her over Robin. If you're interested in her, I would suggest get Robin first and then try your luck on Topaz, unless you love her, in which case, yeah, I think she's still a really solid unit. She still really has a place in the game. There's a lot of talk lately about power creep. I don't think it is an issue at this point in the game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I cleared Pure Fiction fine with Himiko and Herta, and even with Firefly's future release, doing lots of AoE fire damage, probably with OP destruction mechanics. I don't think I'll need to replace Himiko, because Himiko and Topaz together will probably do me more than enough damage to clear content, especially when I pick up Robin, right? Like, that's the way to think about it. Sure, a future unit like Firefly may arrive and do more personal damage than Himiko and Topaz, but Himiko and Topaz together with a good strong buffer like Rune May or Robin will still clear the same content just fine in probably a similar amount of rounds. Like, if they can do that, that's not real power creep. Just because another unit can do bigger numbers, if the previous units can still clear the content of the game, that's not real power creep. Not really. And I don't think the creators of this game would make it so old units can't clear current content. Otherwise they can't sell the units if they can't clear the content. It just incentivizes a little bit for you to start pulling light cones and eidolons for your favorite characters, I guess. Or more likely, eidolons for your favorite supports, like picking up an E1 Ruin Mei or an E1 Topaz will do wonders for your account in the battle against the supposing power creep. But I don't think it's the case. Like, Dr. Ratio clears content that's designed for Dragon Dan Hang quite easily, honestly. I love my Dr. Ratio. He's my star character. But yeah, I don't have enough wishes, unfortunately, to get any eidolons on Topaz or her signature light cone, which is a shame, and I'm not spending out money for it either, personally. I just wait for her rerun and hope she's not run alongside someone who's really good to pick up next time. But, like, if you skip her again, no one's going to blame you. Robin's a really solid unit and a much better unit, just because she's more universal. Topaz is still good, though. She's still good, especially in fire-based content. But even not in fire-based content, she still does a lot of sub-DPS damage, I think, especially once the units are broken. Yeah. But yeah, I can't recommend picking her up just because she's run alongside Robin. And you also have Fu Xuan on the second half. I think Boot Hill is a personal choice kind of character, honestly. But like, Topaz is just stuck between some really good units, and you can't be blamed if you pick up the better units in exchange for her. That said, I do think Fu Xuan is incredibly overrated, personally. That's not because I've not built her very well, but I'll go into why I think Fu Xuan is an overrated character and not really a must pull at all unless you're at a certain account level. But I'll go into that when Fu Xuan is almost on the banner. I think I might be the only person with that opinion. That she's a bit overrated. Yeah, I'm gonna get yelled at a lot in the comments when I do that video. I can foresee it, but I'll explain then in that video. And that's it for me. If you have any questions about Topaz, I am a Topaz fan, as someone who pulled Topaz on her first banner for Numby. I love Numby, my number one pig. He has been a blessing finding chests. This is pretty much my exploration team, you know, running around with Numby at my hills, finding all of the chests. I love it. And occasionally I take her out and go farming and get some extra money, which is a blessing too when we run out of money. It's reasonless behavior, I know. But yeah, if you have any questions about Topaz, or anything, like, she's not a straightforward character to build. Super simple. You couldn't get any easier on a character to build at all. I could have more speed on mine, but she's not on speed boot, so it's fine. It is fine. I'm pretty happy with her. Yeah, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Do subscribe, especially if you want to see me taking down and slandering Fu Xuan in a future video. Me being the only person with a hot, spicy take on Fu Xuan. I'll see you in the future, guys. Have a good one, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Goodbye.